So we got even more information and details regarding Kingdom Hearts 4 from a brand new Famitsu interview with Nomura. Pretty exciting stuff. We're going to go through it in this video, so if you guys are excited for that, be sure to leave it a like. Really helps out the channel. If you guys are new around here, be sure to subscribe so you never miss any future content. We talk about the games and play the games here on the channel, and like I've said before, I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan and will always cover Kingdom Hearts, so be sure to stick around for more and all that good stuff. So again, this interview is pretty long, and the translation is obviously from Japanese to English, so it could be a little bit wonky on the phrasing here and there, so do bear with me. I want to read some of the kind of more general stuff before we get into the nitty-gritty, because it's just some kind of interesting stuff, and then we can move on from that. So let's just go ahead and start into this. So they're kind of asking, how do you look back on the 20 years of the series? And he says, looking back, it was a long time, but when it comes to the feeling of recent times, it seems that not much time has passed all that much, basically, is what he went on to say. Then they said, hey, it's been 3 years since Kingdom Hearts 3. He says, that's right. However, during those 3 years, we've also had Kingdom Hearts Union Cross that was completed, Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, and the cloud version of the Nintendo Switch was released. So in a blink of an eye, bottom. I don't know what bottom means. Again, the translation is a little bit weird. And then it went on to talk about, the 20th anniversary and whatnot, and all that, and saying that there are many young fans, and he says that's right. I feel that many of Kingdom Hearts fans are relatively young. I think that young people will be interested in the appearance of Disney works, so I guess just kind of like the Disney elements and whatnot. But hey, listen, I'm not super young anymore. I mean, I'm not old and I'm not young. I'm somewhere in the middle, I guess. I don't know where I would stand, but I know there's a lot of people of all ages, super young, way older, that absolutely love all the elements of Kingdom Hearts, Disney and just all the elements together, right? It's what makes Kingdom Hearts so special, so unique. Whatever age you are, it just hits you, man. It hits you in the feels. So I love it, and I think a lot of people do. Then it went on to talking about Quadratum, right? This new world. Now this has been some stuff that has been talked about previously, but a little bit more details in here as well. So basically, the room that Sora wakes up in is going to be sort of like his base in the early parts of the game, I guess, is what is being said here. Additionally, the interior in his room will probably change in the final game, they said. So I guess the visuals of what the room looks like from the trailer to the final game is going to change. Now, they did say that Shibuya is part of Quadratum, because obviously we've seen elements of Shibuya, in this world from the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 and obviously the trailer and all that good stuff. But interestingly enough, they did say that the Shibuya in Quadratum is not related to Shibuya in The World Ends With You. There's no connection. So a lot of people were wondering, is there going to be connections, especially given the fact of, Dream Drop Distance and all the characters from The World Ends With You in that game, and there's been connections to that game and those worlds to some extent, at least into the Kingdom Hearts world. So a lot of people thought, hey, maybe this is going to have a connection to The World Ends With You. Apparently not. Apparently there is no connections at all as far as this Shibuya. I guess they're two different Shibuyas. That's pretty much the basis of it. Now, beyond that, again, he reiterated that the male voice narration during the Kingdom Hearts 4 and Missing Link trailers is a character that we already know, but it's the first time hearing this voice. So the voice actor, I guess, voices a character that we know, but the first time we heard this voice. And apparently that, like I said before, it's not Brain. Beyond that, we got some mechanics and stuff, a little bit more details regarding some of the cool mechanics that we've seen, because we've seen some gameplay, obviously, right? And some of the action mechanics seemed new, and some of them kind of seemed familiar in some regard. And the drill part in that footage, when Sora does the drill attack, the giant drill, right? That is actually basically a reaction command from Kingdom Hearts 2. So they're actually bringing back reaction commands, which is pretty exciting. I like them in Kingdom Hearts 2. I think a lot of people did. Personally, Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite games of all time in general, so I might be a little bit biased personally. But they did say that they brought back reaction command because after Kingdom Hearts 3, a lot of fans wanted it back. So a lot of fans were saying, when they played Kingdom Hearts 3, that they missed that element from Kingdom Hearts 2, and they wished it was still part of Kingdom Hearts 3. So they are bringing it back for 4, so that's really good. Now, what's interesting is that the 4th build command is this new concept called scrap and build. Again, some of this, translation is a little bit wonky, but the concept is of destruction and reconstruction. They said more on this later, but I guess that's, something that they're implementing in terms of the mechanics, is this new scrap and build where you destroy and rebuild. I don't know. Again, I don't know how that works. They didn't go into details. That's all they pretty much said. As far as, how this works, your guess is pretty much as good as mine, and whatnot. So just a couple more details regarding Shibuya. Nomura actually said that he wanted to do Shibuya Hikari, if I'm pronouncing that right, that name right, if possible, he says. And he says Shibuya is an easy to understand place as a landmark, and the reason why the real world is reproduced in the game is that the place is more realistic. So I guess he's trying to add that more kind of realism feeling with this world that, Quadratum that Sora is in, and of course Strelitzia as well. And so that's why they wanted to kind of implement more of the realistic elements of Shibuya to make it feel, I guess, more real and have the player connect in that way, if that makes sense, and whatnot. So again, Shibuya is a part of the world of Quadratum. We've already talked about the fact that it's different than the world ends with you and whatnot as well. And beyond that, they were actually kind of asking, what kind of world is Quadratum in the first place? They went on to say that in Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, it was described as the world behind the scenes, but is it a new world that does not belong to any of the world of light, the world of darkness, and the world of space? And Nomura just basically said that recognition is okay. Basically, that understanding is a fair representation of what Quadratum is. So it's basically a world behind the scenes. It's a new world, and it doesn't belong to any of the world of light. It doesn't belong to the world of darkness. It doesn't belong to the world of space. It's separate. And like Strelitzia said in the trailer, it's kind of serves like an afterlife area, right? Kind of like a place where you go when you faded or died, or whatever the terminology you want to use, from the real world, or not the real world, but I guess, the normal Kingdom Hearts world, right? The world of light and darkness and the world of space and that side of things. It's very hard to kind of put this into the proper terminology, but I hope you guys know what I'm trying to say. I mean, they did go on to say a little bit more about that, because the interviewer did say in the trailer's narration, it was described as the world of the living, but for us, the world of death. And he says, what does that mean? And Nomura says, from each standpoint, perceptions change. In Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, the Master of Masters said something like that, but from Sora's point of view, Quadratum is a world behind the scenes that is different from reality, a fictional world. So Quadratum is fictional for Sora. However, from the perspective of the inhabitants of the Quadratum side, the world of Quadratum is real, and the world where Sora and his friends were is the other side, and that's the fictional world for the people in Quadratum. This time, he says, I think the theme will be something like a contrast between people from different positions, which is really interesting, right? So you got, again, the people that are living in Quadratum. Sora's world is fictional, right? It's almost like the contrast between the real world and, gaming almost, right? Where, like, obviously for the characters like Sora and Donald and Goofy, the world of Kingdom Hearts is their real world. But then Sora kind of ends up coming over to the real world, our world, and for our world, this is reality, but this is fiction for him. It's like that polarizing, duality of like, not duality, but I guess like that kind of two opposite sides that view each side similarly to each other, but neither of them view the same side the same way, if that makes sense. I know that sounds probably confusing the way I phrased that, but anyways, moving on from that. Now, what's really interesting is that they were also talking about, the world where Donald and Goofy were, is the original like Kingdom Hearts world, right? And, what does a real Sora look like in the original world? And so Nomura said, Donald and Goofy are looking for clues to Sora in the original world. All the real world before the title is displayed, is divided into Quadratum, and Sora will also look real, but if you can return to the original world, it will look like shaders like Donald and Goofy. So I know that sounds like a very confusing translation, which it is. Basically what he's saying is that if Sora is to return to the same world, the original world where Donald and Goofy is, he's gonna look like he did before. He's not gonna look super realistic. He only looks realistic because he's in Quadratum. If he ever returns, and this is, you know, Nomura's not really confirming it, but obviously I'm sure at some point he's got to, right? If he ever returns to that normal world with Donald and Goofy, Sora's going to look like the way he did in, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3, for example. So he's not always going to look super realistic. He only looks like that, like I said, because he's in, you know, Quadratum. Anyways, my friends, that is pretty much all we have for Kingdom Hearts 4 from this interview. Hopefully it answered some questions, gave you even more, you know, solid information. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like. Like I said, it really helps with the channel, and be sure to subscribe for more. I'm really excited to be able to talk about Kingdom Hearts again and have, you know, new, fresh stuff to kind of dissect, digest, and just kind of go through with you guys here on the channel. So really excited about the future of Kingdom Hearts. Hopefully you guys are too. Let me know what you guys think about it all in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys very soon in another one. Till then, game on, and thanks for watching.